The notion of home, it's my theme. I'm dealing with it since I start to show my photography, actually. Because for many years I was making photographs and save the pleasure for myself, till one day I woke up and I said, okay, now time to exhibit the work. And in general, I photograph in Palestine. I take issues that deal with the question how we as Palestinian, dealing and having and seeing the home. And I start going outside for the need of distance in order to see better. And the first time, actually, I photographed outside Palestine was my personal decision to look at if there's a need for home, or is it kind of a manipulation that the society create in order to have control or belonging. And actually, that's exactly what my dear friend and colleague Santo Mofokeng mentioning, which I will come to him soon. And I went to Poland. I was searching for a place that doesn't have a trauma of war and a condition of catastrophe. I wanted to photograph children in orphanage and to look at the situation as a scientist will do in a lab and see what is this home. And later I was asked to come and to photograph in places where I could find and question the issue of home. I went to France, to Central France area called Corrèze, and that was the first. It was the first invitation to come, and I asked to come 10 days and to see if there is something that give me a pain in the stomach. I found the issue, but when I came back, it took me a few months to decide. Yes, I will do it. Which I'm saying that because it's related to the issue of the conference here. The French, they have so many artists and theoreticians that they write their story. So why we are Palestinians, so little people, with a big issue on our shoulder that we have to deal with and carry? So why when we have a Palestinian artist, this artist doesn't deal with Palestine, go to deal with France, that the French narrative is so much present, and it's written, and it's archived. And I said, okay, I will dig, and I will find something that connected and relate to me and my question. I was lucky to find, the same actually resistance that I to my work that I find in Corrèze, I did find in this work that I will show you now, called Heimat, and it's with whom my narrative, to whom my narrative can be placed with, and the question too. In France, I took the issue of the resistance that they resist the German occupation and not accepting that the German occupied my home as a French. But immediately after the Second World War, immediately went, in some cases, the same resistance and fought to protect the French home in the colonized area, and starting in Indochine at that time, today Vietnam, and then North Africa, especially Algeria. And Heimat, it's a work that Heimat, it's a work that deals with the two groups immigrated to Germany because of the Second World War. And the first group is expellees and the refugees that had to leave their homes. The from the east side of the Oder River or line, which is settlements, not in the meaning of the Israeli settlement of the West Bank, but it's people, German people who were sent to settle empty area. Part of the reason also it's to block the Ottoman Empire from arriving to Europe or to Central North Europe. And because of the Nazis and the occupation, for instance, of Prague, of Czechia, that time Czechoslovakia, and they had to flee to Germany because part of it they were pro-Hitler, pro-Nazism, but of course not everybody, and there were people who were actually socialist, communist, and they were also in Nazi Arbeit, concentrating working camps. And the second, we are talking about 18 million people, and thousands of them died in the way because of the cold, the winter, and the starving, no food. And the second group that I dealt with is the Gastarbeiter. Gastarbeiter, it's the guest workers who came to Germany, and actually also Austria had a guest worker. It's starting from the 50s, so-called Marshall Plan, bringing money to rebuild the German economy. That was the market economy that happened to Germany, but no men to work. They are all in the Soviet prison or in France. And the invitation was first to the Italian, Yugoslavian, Spain, and of course Greek. Turkey, Turkey was not invited. The Turkish government had the only option of exporting and not importing its worker. So Turkey pushed that also it's included, so that the German didn't want Muslims. It happened because America gave the money so they could have the last word, and America had an interest with Turkey, so accepted this condition also to bring the Turkish worker. And that's referred to, and we will see one photo where actually start the exophobia against mainly the Turkish. So from 2000 till 2007, there was a murder of Muslim and in their shops or in their places, and only when the last murder happened in Kassel, the German security took it serious that this is not family killing their children, because the first things, or this person dealing with the drugs, this is why he's dead. Only when the last one happened in Kassel, the light was or focused, and that actually there is underground. They call themselves National Socialist Underground, NSO. And so there was a kind of resisting why I'm mixing these two groups. How do you do it? And let me show you how I did it. With my work, always there's an artist statement. It's actually telling what is the issue I am dealing with. It's always must be in the exhibition, because I'm not in favor of dreaming and imagining and interpreting the situation. There is a real situation, and I'm offering to know it and according to look at the work. And I must just emphasize the first, when I was doing this work, actually, my also dear friend John Berger left us. I was happy to work with him and to and to follow his way of seeing and thinking. So I offer this work to his soul. And my friend Santomofo King had a fantastic, amazing, I cannot say it better than him, that home is the need for home, it's the need to belong. And that's, I did deal with this sentence in a work with the Eastern LGBT, lesbian, homosexual, transgender, etc., that immigrated from their origin country. I took the Muslim Arab countries to the West in order to live with their bodies as a home. You allowed me to skip the text and to start with the work. This is actually the first photo in this series, and excuse me. And usually I like in a cinematic way that there's introduction. Often my introduction, it's a photo of the place where I'm working. And here I choose to photograph in the museum in Trotzheim. Trotzheim actually received its name only in 1951. Before that, it was a prison that the Nazis created to put, first of all, the Polish and the French, the Belgian, and the Yugoslavian and American as prisoners of the Nazis. And in 1941, we had the Soviet and the Serbian. And these prisoners, they didn't receive food. I think none of them survived. Before the end of the war. They were put in the end of the camp, separated from the other prisoners, and just they make them die from starving. When the refugees and expellees arrived from the East Europe and the east side of the river, they needed a place actually to stay. And this camp, which before the expellees arrived, the American used it for the prisoners who didn't have any more home, and which is mainly the Jewish, till they decided where they want to go. Some went to Palestine and some went to America, mostly. And the expellees arrived, and it was the best place for them because there was a roof, there was a water, and there was it's better in this condition to have a roof than to stay in the fields. So it became a village, and this is one house. The houses are supposed to be protected, but people slowly make themselves comfortable. So the first ground is the original, and the top is added later. I decided to deal with the monuments that talking about the expellees and the refugees, and the reason that motivated me to deal with it is a sentence that I heard, because when I work, I talk with the people and I ask them a question, and so one person said that the things that hurt them very much, that they don't have, like the German who were in the German land, they didn't have furniture from their grandparents. And so I thought in it, what does it mean I don't have furniture from my grandparents? It means I don't have a place where I belong. And then that took me to look at the monuments in another place. And the question, why every 5 meters there's another monument, and every year installing new monuments. So my interpretation, or the need why I wanted to emphasize it, this is exactly the things that make these persons belong to the place where they are now. If I have a monument that telling my history and my story, then I'm part of this place, and that's make me belong to the place. Each picture will have a caption that tell us what is the story, as you say. You saw the caption before with the museum photo. I did ask people to bring out their documents that relate to their story and to put it in the table and to talk about what is there. This, you will see at the end, I have an installation view, so you see the place of the images, because with my work I have groups, and this is one picture that relates with the guest workers. We see a couple wedding, and here I wanted to emphasize the price that the guest worker had to pay in order to come to work and to give their work, their physical work, to Germany. So the daughter sending her mother a letter telling her, okay, I'm getting married. It will be very nice if you can come, you and my sister, because the other sister chose to live with the mother in the hospital where she was cleaning. But I know economically it's difficult for you and you cannot leave your work, so I will forgive you, but I want just to let you know I'm getting married. And I think this is nobody seeing these things, that the workers, they had to pay a price. But always this question, okay, always I have to finish in one sentence. Always this question of the workers, how they integrate to the society and what did they do to integrate. Even when I come and ask the guest worker, what did the city did for you to that you feel belong to the place? And immediately the answer, it's what I as a guest worker did to be integrated, what are my efforts to integrate it, but even to accept that, to question the other side, what did you do to integrate? It wasn't accepted by the workers themselves even. You allowed me to finish here and we can continue later. Thank you.